Hello, and welcome to this week's Movie Math, where Tom Cruise almost killed himself and audiences still weren't impressed. Tough crowd, tough crowd. There is a positive spin here, though, and because Fallout has so many fans in the industry and the media, you can see what a difference that makes. Their trades are spinning today like a skydiving cruise. I myself saw Fallout again last night, again in IMAX, and it's pretty freaking amazing. And this time, while the crowd also sat in stunned silence like my press screening did, this time around the audience did break out into applause after the Paris sequence. Applause! And audiences did give Mission Impossible Fallout an A first for the typically A- franchise. So maybe there's like an awards play here for cinematography, editing, etc. You know, like a Nolan movie. And hey, there's a positive spin. I thought about this while I was watching it last night. Maybe the sheer beauty of Mission Impossible Fallout and how much it's copying Nolan will spur the director himself to get back in the game, as he's currently still bummed he didn't catch any awards with his Dunkirk bait, although I could have told him that, and I did tell him that. And that indeed turned out to be the case. So here today, first, we're going to go over the positive highlights for Mission Impossible Fallout's opening weekend, and then address the sobering bottom line. I imagine this is like the public conversation Cruise's camp is having, and then the private conversation. Although he does seem to be, he's a member of a cult, so I don't know how many sobering, realistic conversations he does have. But I'm sure Paramount is going to be having our second conversation. So anyway, Mission Impossible Fallout features Tom Cruise's biggest stunts and earned the franchise its biggest opening, both domestic and foreign. And while typically these Mission Impossible movies top out at around 200 million domestic, think about that, wow, they are overseas powerhouses where being a movie star still means something. And you can believe that the hard-working Cruise will squeeze out every dollar he can, especially in China, where the sixth entry just landed on August 31st release date. Ghost Protocol pulled in 101 out of China, and Rogue Nation 135. There's a pretty pocket of change waiting for him in the Middle Kingdom. He just has to go get it. I think he will. Now, Mission Impossible Fallout also reps Cruise's second biggest opening of all time. And let's not forget that the man's been working since the 80s, with a number of his biggest openings not adjusted for inflation. He's also kept the Mission Impossible franchise consistent, not building, but at least not losing viewership. If Cruise and his new creative partner Macquarie can get Mission Impossible Fallout to match the last two entries globally, and maybe even break into the 700s, they can call this a win. And hey, MoviePass blacked out this film over the weekend because the ticketing service feared such high demand for Fallout would put it out of business earlier than expected. There's a spin. MoviePass can't handle Tom Cruise. Side note, I tweeted about this. I was talking to some people about MoviePass. MoviePass was very aggressive when it first came out. Didn't make itself a lot of friends. But when you look at it, the bigger picture, it not only got more people to go to the movies, to experience movies in the theater as they're intended, but also it got movie theaters to hire people. My sister was talking to somebody at a multiplex and said, "What do you think of MoviePass?" And the guy said, well, they were laying people off here, but suddenly they not only stopped laying people off, but started hiring more people to work during the weekday because of MoviePass. So I wish MoviePass maybe hadn't had so much bravado and made so many enemies, but I think it at the very least might lead to a significant change in the movie business, or at least the movie theater business. And I hope everything ultimately works out. All right, so back to Cruise. So the positive stuff, that's Cruise's camp's angle. That's what he and his minions will be going all around town saying. But let's get down to business, because even if Mission Impossible Fallout is a stunning cinematic achievement, and I actually would call it that in all seriousness, this is still a business, and this is supposed to make money. So Tom Cruise might be doing his own stunts, where this time a broken ankle cost the insurance company $70 million additional in coverage. Wow. But he can't match movies featuring heavily used green screen and even CGI stunt doubles, right? Even more so, his practical stunts and actual globe-trotting locations are more expensive. Mission Impossible Fallout has a bigger budget before the additional overhead for his broken ankle. Like, even without factoring that in, it costs more money to make Mission Impossible Fallout than, get this, get ready for your mind to be blown, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom and Deadpool 2, which both open bigger and will make more money overall. What's more, while surely Paramount is thrilled to have another box office win this year, the studio's other big movie of 2018 to date, A Quiet Place, cost just $17 million to make, yet opened basically on par with Mission Impossible Fallout, and will likely also be on par with Mission Impossible Fallout domestically. And for all their praise, the trade still had to highlight that Mission Impossible Fallout, like Rogue Nation, will only become profitable once it reaches the ancillary market. Because don't forget, on top of the budget, you also have to factor in the ad campaign, which for a big blockbuster like this costs north of $100 million. And the studios really only get about 50% of that global box office at the end of the day. Still, Rogue Nation's $110 million earnings overall is nothing to scoff at and makes the franchise and crews valuable to a studio that only has one other franchise right now, Transformers, but maybe also A Quiet Place. They're working very much to secure that, which totally is a no-brainer. And so, of course, Paramount and Cruise, also a no-brainer, should keep making Mission Impossible movies. And with these soft numbers, I don't see a lot of other job offerings pouring in for anyone involved here. Certainly not ones that are attached to a big paycheck. I think that if I were a comic book franchise, I might still reach out to Macquarie, who's a poor man's Christopher Nolan to some degree, including the box office he delivers, but I certainly wouldn't give him a big paycheck. So maybe Macquarie will just want to stick with Cruise. Also, speaking of comic book movies, I think that Cavill might want to take what Warner Brothers is offering him to continue as Superman after this debut. And some other factors that I can't talk about without spoiling Mission Impossible Fallout. But if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, here's what they might want to consider going forward with this franchise. Bring that budget down. While the female to male ratio has improved significantly thanks to Rebecca Ferguson, give her more to do next time, the under 25 numbers are still very low, which means they should consider adding a more currently popular cast member. They also might want to consider a larger role for an actor of color, as Paramount didn't even release an ethnic breakdown for the opening weekend audience, meaning it was bad. Ving Rhames and Angela Bassett are great, not only as actors, but also in this very film, but their token roles harken back to, well, the Hollywood of Cruise's earlier days. In fact, Tom Cruise has never had a film with a co-star of color. Wow! I mean, you do you, Tom, but you also need to keep an eye on how Hollywood and audience demands are evolving. Now, as for the rest of the box office, Teen Titans Go delivered a debut on par with Sherlock Gnomes, The Star, and My Little Pony, the movie. That last one highlighting how with not much distinction between screen size these days, meaning audiences aren't particular as to where they watch content just as long as it's good, TV shows jumping to the big screen isn't really a thing anymore. And Teen Titans Go is still a juggernaut on smaller screens, from its Cartoon Network series to its mobile games. The movie also got a B+ from those who saw it, so it might do very well on those same smaller screens down the line. In short, maybe just not something for the theatrical market. Now, as for the rest of the top 10, it was big drops across the board as we come to the end of summer, with the biggest for Mamma Mia 2 and Equalizer 2 in only their second weekends. Yet still, Denzel has pulled in more money than The Rock has domestically with Skyscraper. The Rock's really been touting Skyscraper's overseas success, and it's up to like 225, but that's like 200 million less than Rampage. He really is having diminishing returns, and I hope he takes this overexposure, constructive feedback seriously. Now, one of the best holds for the weekend was The Incredibles 2, which will join the $1 billion club any moment now, making it Pixar's third film to do so, and the fourth film to do so this year alone, 3 from Disney. But it's not all good news for Disney, as Ant-Man and the Wasp is only approaching $400 million globally, still a good $100 million behind the first Ant-Man, one of the MCU's lowest performing films. Come on, Chinese release date. Still doesn't have one, but again, it likely will get one because Disney is so close with the Middle Kingdom. Still, it's not going to get anywhere near movies like even Doctor Strange, and I think that, again, I think Peyton Reed is a problem, and I think potentially, as much as I like both I didn't like Evangeline Lilly so much in the movie, but I really like her personally. So as much as I like Paul Rudd and Evangeline Lilly, they might not be big screen talent either. And so if they're going to make any more Ant-Mans, you might want to add an Avenger to the, I mean, they're technically, is he an Avenger? Yeah, he's kind of an Avenger, but I'm talking like a popular Avenger. Sorry! Now, as for this coming weekend, Mission Impossible Fallout might luck out because the review embargo for Christopher Robin, get this, the screening is on Wednesday, but the embargo does not lift until 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursday, when the first public showings of the movie get out on the East Coast. And with Christopher Robin, even without maybe potentially bad reviews factor in, only projected to open at 31.5, Mission Impossible Fallout could, maybe with very good word of mouth and an excellent hold on to that number one spot. The Spy Who Dumped Me and The Darkest Minds also open. So that's this week's Movie Math. As always, thank you for going over the box office with me, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts down below. Like, for instance, why didn't you go see Mission Impossible Fallout? And if you need some encouragement, here are some of your fellow BTTers having, as you can see, a fabulous time at the movies.